evening.
Okay. Good morning. Good morning. How are you? I am just going to let people in to the meeting who are waiting. Get some settings adjusted here. All right. Should be good to go. Okay. All right. Good morning. How is everybody today? Here in Kansas City, it's actually raining. There's in the middle of a thunderstorm. So I am connected to Wi-Fi. So if it goes out, that's why. And nothing I can do about that. So we'll just kind of have to see where that takes us. All right. Good morning, Brian. Oh, good morning, Brian, and good morning, Layton. How are you?
Morning. How you doing? Oh,
Good.
sorry about that.
Oh, perfect. I was about to say, if we could leave our settings to where we can actually like see each other and see our faces, that'd be great. And also, you can feel free like to keep yourself unmuted unless there's like a whole bunch of noise in your background. But yeah, this is going to be an open-ended conversation, so yeah, you can keep yourself unmuted.
How you guys' week been? Everybody had a decent week?
Mine has been pretty average.
Yeah, man, I got it like this big, huge, I don't know if you want to call it internet argument, I guess. I was telling y'all about that Slack channel that I'm on. And we
Yeah.
had long, like, I really want everybody to go to the channel and read it. Because, like, people were trying to call me out. But it was like, they was like, who are you voting for? And it's like, are you a Trump supporter? Da, 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 da. And I was like, nah. And then I was telling them, well, you know, we don't believe in suppressing the vote. We want everybody to vote. It's just we should vote them down ballot because, you know, Joe Biden, the Biden-Harris ticket doesn't address us. And they were like, no, here's a tweet from Eviction saying y'all should suppress the vote. But the vote said vote them down ballot. I'm like, that's not what that means. Like, it was, man.
Yeah.
Yeah, y'all gotta read it. Like, these Russian comments just go and don't stop.
All right. So, Brian, how's your week been?
Not too bad. Kind of hot and slow and frustrating. I don't know. Pretty standard these days. Every day kind of runs into the other.
I heard that.
Pretty disappointed to hear about Chadwick Boseman last night, like right before bed.
Yeah,
I had no idea.
I heard about it this morning.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Yeah, they really kept that quiet. I had no idea he was. I mean, I think probably millions of people didn't.
Yeah. I'd heard something like I seen a post must have been a month ago where people were saying how concerned they were about how much weight he'd lost or something.
Yeah.
Like that. So that's that. I mean, but I was like, oh, well, that could be for a role, like maybe.
Yeah.
But yeah.
Yeah. He did look. I mean, I had seen him looking pretty skinny, but yeah. I mean, obviously it makes sense in hindsight, but
yeah,
it's a shame, real shame. I mean, I'll out myself. I'm basically his exact same age, and I don't need any more reminders of my own mortality at this point.
I think this. Hold on, I'm sorry. My daughter is coming towards me with something. So if you see me distracted, it's because she's needing my assistance. But I feel like this whole year has really made a lot of people take a pause and reevaluate all of their priorities as far as what
Yeah.
they consider important, as far as, you know, familiar and friend relationships, and this and everything else on top of that too.
Yeah, definitely. And I got a second. I'm going to keep myself on mute because any minute now it's going to be pretty loud down here. So
Okay,
with
you're fine.
child and wife and all that stuff. So
All right, well, if you're gonna start, I have a video to start. Basically what we're going to do today is kind of like we're already doing, talking about events that happened this week and how they relate to ADOS life, and how they are, and how certain things are affecting our lives. And I had like I had a list of articles that we'll probably talk about later, and I really hope that all of you have um, some info to add to the conversation as well. But actually, this morning I was on YouTube and I got this video recommended to me, and if I can, I'm going to try to share that video here so we can all watch it together, and then we'll discuss. Okay, so let me know if you'd like to share. Okay, so let's see if I can get it. Share. All right, so let me know if you can see the YouTube video that says this LA musician bought or built $1,200 tiny houses for the homeless. Can you all see that?
No.
yeah, well, you
Where
can
is
see
it?
your screen. Yeah.
So you can so you can see my screen.
Yeah,
Okay.
I can.
Let me go back. All right. So you can see it or you can't.
I can personally.
Okay, hold on. I can't hear. Let me go back. Oh, let me stop share. Just for a moment. Okay. Hold on. Not everyone responded. So let me try again. All right. Share desktop. Share this. Yes. All right.
Okay, I see it now.
Can you see it now? Just say yes, Kira. I can see your YouTube website up.
Yes, I can see it.
Okay, great. All right, so like I was saying, this video was in my recommendations this morning. It's from Reason TV, and from the title, you can gather what it's about. And before I hit play, it's a 15-minute video. We'll watch all of it. And before I hit play, I just want us to really pay attention or take notice of how this man came up with a really amazing idea, a solution to a problem that plagues a lot of cities across the United States, and how the government worked against that solution. So I'm just gonna hit play and let's watch.
Each night, tens of thousands of people sleep in tent cities crowding the palm-lined boulevards of Los Angeles. But a struggling musician from South LA thought he had a creative temporary fix. He crowdfunded $100,000 and built dozens of solar-powered tiny houses to shelter the homeless. But on the morning city officials were gathering to celebrate their new nearly $2 billion plan to end homelessness, police and garbage crews were descending on the tiny homes, ordered by the city to seize and destroy them.
Not seeing the video.
Los Angeles, emergency in the country's second largest city.
Problem that's spinning out of control. Crisis proportions.
There to shelter crisis as the city is overwhelmed by a spike in the homeless population.
Homeless camps are seen everywhere.
He's been living on the sidewalk here for the past 30 years. What is behind this homeless crisis in LA? Here in the entertainment capital of the world, over half the homeless population will sleep on the streets tonight, far more than in any other American city. There are 28,000 homeless people in just the city of Los Angeles, and the number has hit new record highs in each of the past few years. But LA Mayor Eric Garcetti has a plan.
This is a bold step forward today for Los Angeles. A year ago, I'll be blunt, the city council and the mayor weren't working together on this.
Garcetti introduced a funding proposal in February that would devote nearly $2 billion over the next decade to getting all LA residents off the streets once and for all. But at the time of Garcetti's announcement, dozens of homeless people had already found shelter in the form of solar-powered tiny houses dispersed throughout the neighborhoods of South LA and beyond.
In Los Angeles, a growing movement is having a big impact. It's an innovative effort to help the homeless.
Giving homes to the homeless? They were built by a self-described struggling musician named Elvis Summers.
I got involved with building tiny houses because of a woman named Smokey. She's 62 years old, lives in my neighborhood, and as I got to know her, realized that she was sleeping in the dirt, and I decided to build her a tiny house.
In his 20s, Summers was homeless for stretches of time himself. Now the 39-year-old is trying to help his neighbors who have fallen on hard times.
Some other homeless people came by and asked if I could build them one. I didn't have the money, so I figured try one of these crowdfunding things I've seen out there. I mean, it blew my mind. I mean, I think I passed 50,000 in the first week. Total, I've raised over 100,000.
Summers has built tiny homes for nearly 40 people, aided by professional contractors and other volunteers who sign up to help through his nonprofit, Starting Human. Each house costs roughly $1,200 for materials.
The houses I build have carpet, 2 windows, a steel reinforced door, smoke detector. It's got a solar panel on the roof. Powers 2 light bulbs, and the battery pack has a USB port on it to charge your cell phone, which is huge. An address, American flag.
Summers also equips each of the 6 by 10 foot houses with a camping toilet and even window alarms. He says they were never meant to be a permanent solution, but unlike sleeping on the sidewalk or in a tent, his tiny houses provide the secure foundation residents need to improve their lives.
You know, the tiny houses provide immediate shelter. You know, the houses I build are very sturdy and safe. People can lock their stuff up and know that when they come back from their drug treatment program or court or finding a job all day, that their stuff is where they left it.
I got my resumes, my shower stuff. Want to not be homeless. Want to order pizza to my own home. Look here, I want a DVD player, man.
Sorry. But as Summers was building houses, anger in the community over growing street homelessness was reaching a boiling point early this year.
These homes were nothing more than a detriment to mine and my neighbors' homes, families, and children, and they created a sense of terror in the residents.
Nestled within dour tent shantytowns, Summers' tiny houses became brightly colored targets for residents who want the homeless out of their backyards.
They had the children walking in the middle of the street and not on the curbside when they're going over the overpasses.
Most of Summers' tiny houses were placed on private land that's been donated to the project, such as a parking lot outside a convenience store and a church in Compton. A handful replaced the tents that have proliferated on freeway overpasses.
They're not right in front of a business. They're not in front of somebody's house, and the sidewalks are extra wide. So, it seemed, as far as public places, the safest, best place to be until I could get land and then take them and put them on property, building a small community.
But LA viewed the houses as a nuisance. In February, the city council amended a sweeps ordinance to allow the tiny houses to be seized without prior notice. On the morning of the 9th, police and garbage trucks descended, towing 3 of the houses to a Bureau of Sanitation lot for disposal.
My phone just blows up by everybody on 42nd Street, just freaking out. Like, they're throwing us out of the houses. They're telling us they're taking them. Like, what do we do? I mean, they wouldn't let them get their clothes or their medications. They threw them out, left them on the sidewalk. I pleaded with them. I was like, okay, well, look, they have wheel locks on them. Let me unlock the wheels at least, so you don't break them. No, they refused. They just wanted to take them and destroy them.
Summers managed to move 8 of the threatened houses into storage before they were confiscated, but their residents had nowhere to go.
I had to evict 2 veterans who paid their ticket. They shouldn't be homeless, period. Just, I get angry. They did their service. They gave up their dreams so the rest of us can be out here and be a bunch of assholes. There needs to be some respect.
Our community was so negatively impacted by these structures that many of us come together to get them removed. We called Councilman Price's office because we needed him to do something about it.
I don't think living in that box is the alternative to having some housing.
Current Price is the LA City Councilman who represents the district where the houses were located and who ordered the seizures.
My main objections to the tiny houses, I really want to call them houses, they're really just boxes. They're multicolored boxes. Is that they're safe, they're not safe, and that they impose real hazards for some neighbors in the community.
People in neighborhoods that are concerned about all of that, their property values and, tiny houses and homeless people in their neighborhood have every right, period, to be pissed off. And I completely agree with them. But, you're misdirecting your anger. Direct it to the powers that be that are supposed to be doing their job. My whole issue and cause is that something needs to be done right now until permanent housing does come available.
I think just a temporary fix of false sense of security as it would be tend to be without any real support services.
But to homeless people who had escaped tents and moved into the tiny homes, the security they provided seemed anything but false. After the city's sweep, they were forced once again to call the sidewalk home.
I've been homeless like 2 years.
One of the guys, Willie, who's an engineer who I gave the Red House to, he used to have it right here.
In the house, you feel secure because you lock your door.
After Willie Hadnot's house was seized by the city, he went back to living in a tent above the 110 freeway.
I try to cover it up, as much as I can, but after you take and cut it with a razor blade, it's not too much security you have at all. It's coming, that they really don't care for you too much. They said, first thing the officer told me, he said, well, go get a job. I said, can you help me get one? I'm willing to work. It's not really all in no jobs for a 59-year-old man, I'm 59 years old.
Willie is an ex-engineer, loves kids, he loves tinkering with things.
And I have a little platform, like a little stand for it that I built, put this on it. It's a little wood toy, man. But some kids would love to have this, man. And I got this out of dumpster, which I really don't like to say, but I do go dumpster diving.
A few days after I gave him his house, he pulled me aside and basically, he just told me that he was so low and there's just no hope. And he basically he was giving up and he was contemplating ending his life. Finally getting hope, there's a chance, maybe I can turn this around. And then just, having someone come and suck it away from you. It's horrible.
I put a lot into it, you know what I'm saying? And I'm not saying I wanted a lot back, but I was secure with what I had, my little house. My little house meant the world to me. It still means the world to me.
We've offered housing to individuals who are willing to come in, and frequently the response is, well, I don't want to go to the shelter, I just want to stay here on the street.
There are a fraction of shelter space to how many people are homeless, but otherwise the shelters are dirty. It's dangerous in there. The food is not good. It's got bed bugs. You can't go with a girlfriend, pets, or any of your personal items.
I'm not suggesting that the shelters are the answer. It obviously is a temporary step, an alternative step. I think it's a better step, than someone sleeping on a sidewalk under a bench or on a bench. I think the way you make it better is having some kind of coordinated services, where you can refer people to the kind of assistance they need, as opposed to giving them a structure, letting them think that they've got it, that they're okay now, because they're sitting in a little box, and your problems are going to be solved.
You go out and spend, many nights on the street and be treated as a monster, and then be given, a warm place to stay, and tell me you're not going to call it a home. When the city took those 3 houses, they chose to do it at the exact same time that the council and the mayor were at City Hall unveiling the mayor's new homeless $1.87 billion plan.
This is an important policy statement, and I think it's going to provide it with a roadmap in a variety of areas. We are beginning to make a difference, and a difference that is long overdue. We've identified some action items, working closely with the county, and so we're working really in collaboration in ways that we haven't before. We have identified a need to come up with some funds, a specific number of funding for a prolonged period of time.
Everything that they have been doing, and doesn't work. It's just years of circles and bureaucratic holds and wait times, and like, I would like them to care. 10, 20, 30, 40 years. I mean, where's all the housing?
Mayor Garcetti's plan focuses on permanent supportive housing, aiming to build 10,000 units for homeless families over the next decade. But in the meantime, LA is taking funds away from temporary shelters.
The tiny houses are, a cheap, effective, immediate step. And as long as they are, managed in small communities, that would be best. I've almost completed my first mobile shower unit, which I'm super excited to get done.
Currently, Los Angeles owns thousands of vacant lots that could provide locations for micro-housing villages like those that already exist in several other cities, including Portland, Seattle, Austin, and elsewhere.
I mean, not only they could open a few up that have been sitting there for decades that we could build communities on, but open up a warehouse and stop chastising the homeless for collecting the good citizens' garbage. Encourage them, give them a job doing it.
Well, we're trying to come up with some solutions. We're looking at letting people stay in parking lots, for example. People that are in vehicles to park in parking lots. Perhaps that could be a good location for tents, for other types of temporary shelters.
In May, following national media attention, Los Angeles returned the tiny houses it had seized, with their solar power systems missing, on the condition that Summers placed them only on private property. As for Mayor Garcetti and the City Council, they scored a success on the November ballot as LA voters approved a $1.2 billion bond measure to partially fund new permanent housing construction, exactly a decade after the city's first 10-year plan to end homelessness withered in 2006.
Every Angelino deserves a safe place to sleep at night.
The mayor's office says that though the city appreciates citizens' creative solutions to end homelessness, he does not support opening a surplus lot for Elvis Summers or other tiny house village concepts until the city has some more time to study the issue.
Business as usual for me. I'm going to keep building. I'm going to keep helping these people. This can all change. I mean, if people want a beautiful, positive community, you have to build one. You can't just, sweep stuff under the rug and pretend it doesn't exist. If I, can't get through to the city to open their minds, to actually give a crap about what's going on, to the people of our city and create change with me, I'll do it myself then. And with all the support that I do get, and everybody that doesn't want to come and contribute, I'll get private land, we'll build small communities, we'll save these people's lives.
I just got over walking pneumonia in our young city. I have a friend right here. I do have that.
Okay. Did everyone catch that video? Hold on. Just a moment. Okay. So did everyone catch the video, I hope?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I
So-
caught the audio. I didn't catch any visual. I just saw the audio. I mean, heard the
okay.
audio.
I'm not sure why that is, but I saw that Zoom was able to share the screen, so I'll post a link to the replay once the meeting's over if you want to go back and watch it. But since We did see the video or catch the audio. I'd like to know your thoughts on that. I've already seen the video multiple times this morning, so I've had a chance to go through my initial thoughts and feelings, and then kind of calm down a bit. And I watched it again, and I got mad all over again. So I already had time to like kind of process my thoughts, but I'd like to know what your initial feelings are about what you just saw. Leighton, since you're next to mine, if you want to go first.
I feel like whenever I see stuff like that, that's kind of what fuels me to keep doing what we're doing. Because Yvette talked about the homeless rates in Skid Row, maybe like a year or two ago. And so it's just like when you see that, if you notice, like most of these homeless people are black people. Most of these homeless people are ADOS. I think the stat she gave was, I think 40% of everybody on Skid Row was ADOS at the time. So it's like when I see stuff like that, that just lets me know, like, no, this is the right path. Like, we are going about this the right way. The data does matter. We are affected. We do have to advocate for ourselves. I felt the same way when we did the episode about what was the eviction rates. They talked about, I think it was like 50% of people, and then granted the percentages was different per states. But one of the episodes, she was saying how, out of those 50% in a given state, we're probably 60 to 70% of that given state, given our wealth ratio. So it's just like when I see, stuff like that video, I mean, that's what we have to go against. I think that's why what we're doing right now is so important, because I know how powerful we can be, and I know how powerful we can be. We just got to stay at it. We have to stay, intervene, to discussing this with one another, encouraging one another, creating safe spaces like this to have those conversations and produce that thought. Because I can see we're changing things now. Like, I never thought I would see a day when everybody's talking about reparations. Like, but that's came, that time is now. So now we just got to keep doing the work.
Yeah. Brian, do you have any thoughts?
Yeah. Let me, I got to plug in my phone before it dies, but I mean, I've got a lot of thoughts about that. I suppose my top line thought is the lack of urgency in this country for particularly homelessness, but all kinds of issues is just so maddening. I mean, the first factoid that the narrator mentioned that really caught my attention was sorry about this, when they were discussing the seizure of the homes at the same time as the city unveiling its $2 billion 10-year plan to end homelessness. And it seems like the timing is around 2016. It's a few years old now.
I guess the initiative started in 2015, 2016. The video we just watched was posted 3 years ago, but I'm assuming that was Los Angeles 2016.
Yeah. So, I mean, if you think about, and later in the video, the narrator talked about the withering of the previous 10-year anti-homelessness or, anti-poverty plan in Los Angeles that started in 2006. And it's hard not to look at city council members, particularly older city council members, like the city councilman whose district or whose ward, I'm not sure the exact terminology that they use in Los Angeles, but whose ward housed most of the homes that were seized. It's hard not to look at that man and say, like, this is a crisis right now. Like, where is your sense of urgency? Like, I don't know. I go quickly into a generational construct for how I think about these things. But anyway, I won't ramble on it. My top line takeaway was just the breathtaking lack of urgency.
Yeah.
So.
Antoine, do you have anything you want to add?
Yeah, it strikes. Well, it's really similar. The problem that they had in Los Angeles with building the tiny houses, it reminded me immediately of the tiny house program off of Paseo. That's the first thing. And with the solar power, it gave me an idea because I had an idea of expanding the tiny house program in Kansas City, and with them being solar powered, that gave me an idea for my proposal. The second, it was really disheartening hearing all of those folks in the community complain about the homeless being sheltered in their neighborhoods. Mm-hmm. That was really disheartening. I know here in Kansas City we have a big homeless problem with vets and single men, and I don't know if that had any had any reason to do with it, but the fact that I've seen all those people complaining about the homeless being housed in their neighborhoods, and I gotta be real, and a lot of them were black. To hear them black people complaining about homeless people being sheltered in their neighborhoods, that was really disheartening. You know what I mean? If you want people to care about our situation, we have to care about other situations, other people's situations too. And if we're gonna be quickly to dismiss, somebody else's problem, we can't be, too surprised when somebody's quick to dismiss ours.
Each night, tens of thousands.
I understand the safety. I understand the safety to it. A lot of these people are staying in, neighborhoods, and a lot of these men, a lot of these people homeless or single. I understand that, but at the same time, the lack of empathy was really disheartening. The third thing, how the council came up with a ballot measure to allocate the money for the affordable housing program, and it got me thinking about Kansas City. Why hasn't Kansas City put a ballot measure forward to allocate these funds so we can build more affordable housing? And those are the takeaways I had.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think you all made some really great points, especially about those are all the first things I noticed. The first thing I noticed is what Antoine mentioned, and how many Black Americans in those communities were so against people that looked like them, that probably come from the same lineage as them, who were just dead set on them not having a place to live, not having a safe place to live. That was really what was disheartening to me. Just how the lengths that they went to have those people removed from the community. It's just it's heartless that they would do that. So I really couldn't just say, oh, it's just it's bureaucracy, it's the government. It was the people in the community who just, I mean, I just can't see why it takes 10 years to build enough houses in a neighborhood that homeless people won't be subjected to the elements. They won't be in hazardous conditions. I can't imagine why that would take 10 years. On that show that used to be on ABC, like Extreme House Makeover or something, they were building those houses in 2 days. So I just don't see how it would take so long. But I'm adding the chat here. But I wanted us to watch that because that is what's happening in Kansas City. Hold on, let me add the link here, link to the video. And then if I can share the screen again, we'll go, let me see if I can do it. Actually, just a moment. Actually, cancel. Because something else that I wanted to, before I do that, let me make sure my screen is up the right way. I'll go to Twitter. Give me a moment. Perfect. Okay. All right, got it. So now I'll share this screen. And what I'm about to share now is it's a short video captured from one of the leaders in KC Tenants. And here she was sharing a predicament that she's actually going through right now. I believe this is from Friday. Can you see my screen where it says KC Tenants?
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, so this this video was posted on the 27th. So that was, you know, a couple days ago. And basically, I mean, if you don't know, KC Tenants is working to combat the people from being evicted from their homes. You know, we're in the middle of a pandemic. We're in the middle of a financial crisis. You know, millions have lost their jobs. And in Kansas City, I believe over half of the city are actually renters. So this is affecting us all. And it's predominantly affecting ADOS. You know, we are the ones who were laid off from our jobs. We are the ones who we just don't have the network, you know, the familial connections to wealth that would keep us in our homes. You know, we can't just, you know, so easily run to mom or dad and ask them for the money to help us pay our rent. You know, they might be laid off too. So here, Ashley is sharing about how her landlord is pretty much forcing her out of her home. You know, she already has, I'm gonna stop it here. She already is facing an eviction, I think, next week. And on top of that, her landlord is taking essential appliances from the home. She took her stove. If you go to the KC Tenants page, there's an updated post where it states that her landlord has cut off her utilities. I mean, that's happening to the leaders of a movement that's supposed to be preventing people from being evicted in a home. So if that's happening to the leadership, then it's happening to the rest of us as well. And just like in the video, if you notice, or I really hope you did notice, that in that the Reason TV video we saw, the majority of the people that were on those LA streets were Black Americans. They were ADOS. That is our life. That it's, of course, you know, it's not the story of all of us. You know, clearly, some of us are very rich and wealthy. Some of us are, I guess, what you would consider middle class. But even in that, there are certain elements which are undeniable, from the very poorest of us to the very wealthiest of us. And that is that we are a bottom caste. That is the life of ADOS. And you can see it in the video about the tiny house community, and you can see it in that post from Ashley, one of the leaders in KC Tenants. She is set to be put out. She is a week away from being that much closer to homelessness. Right now, her landlord is illegally trying to evict her from her home by taking her appliances and cutting off her utilities. So one of the things that I hope will continue, or that we will focus on as time goes on, is that in the ADOS movement and our push for reparations, it's not just us out here demanding that we get money from the government. It's us demanding that things that, like what you saw in the video and in the post from Ashley, stop. Because our people are in trouble, real trouble. We are at risk of far greater repercussions than damn near any other racial group in this country, and that is by design. So that's one of the first bits of news that I wanted to highlight this week, and I'll kind of open up the floor if anyone else wants to comment on that, or if you want to if you have any other stories, news, or anything like that that you also want to add, like, please do, because that's why we're here today. We're just here today to point out what's happening with ADOS and and what needs to be done about it. So I'll stop talking and add your commentary as well.
I'm a member of KC Tenants. I've been a member of KC Tenants for since December of last year now. I know Ashley Johnson. I've spoken with her many times. I know her situation. She's a victim of she's a survivor of domestic abuse. What gets me with this, okay, 50% of Kansas City residents are renters, and a lot of people renting or ADOS. A lot of ADOS exploit the housing market. I know a lot of ADOS men and women that own and rent homes, and they exploit this market. We perpetuate this. We perpetuate this ourselves with this capital, taking advantage of this capitalist society instead of using it towards our advantage. If this group, if ADOS homeowners and ADOS people that own homes, now they collabed with KC Tenants and provided homes for our homeless and for our underemployed, and they receive government subsidies in return in conjunction with KC Tenants. That's a plan. That's a plan right there, instead of just using the capitalist society towards your benefit. And that's what a lot of us do. Well, we get these houses, we buy them, we rent them out, we don't look out for each other, we just trying to get ahead. Now, if more of us, ADOS, We invest in this real estate market. We go to land bank, we get these houses, we fix them up, we rent them to our own at decent prices and collab with government agencies that, you know, that provide funds. We can help each other. That's my thoughts.
Does anyone else want to add?
I like what Antoine just said. I want to add quickly that, and you mentioned it, Kiara, that what the landlord was doing in that video was illegal. You know, there's so often, I think, people who have knee-jerk reactions to the eviction crisis think, well, if, you know, the landlord has a right to do whatever, but in this case, that's illegal, and there's no check on that, right? So that video was, and then the follow-up, which you also mentioned, you know, the further disgraceful behavior of cutting off her, I think it was her heat, right? Like cutting off her gas.
And removing the stove.
Yeah, yep. Anyway. Also, just want to quickly jump in and say that in case you haven't seen it, the Vice News report on KCPD dropped within the last couple days. I'm on my phone, so I'm not sure if I'll be able to add it to the chat, but it's really well done, and it's really.
Maybe what is it? It's a Vice report on KCPD.
Yeah, Vice News report on KCPD.
Let me see if I can find it, and I'll add it.
Yeah, it's quite good. It's quite, you know, disturbing, enlightening, illustrative of how bad things are here. So that's a little off topic, but just in case anybody hadn't seen it, it's circulating.
I think that's it that I added. Y'all might want to double check that, but I think that's it.
Okay.
So this is what I don't understand, guys. Like, you know, which I'm not sure if how often you guys watch the show. I tune in. I've been tuning in. Like, I can't get enough of watching it, to be honest. But like when I see these articles or when I see this episode, like what's on Vice, and I read these articles, like it's things we talk about every week, day in and day out. And I for the life of me, I've been having hell trying to push this message. Like I was like in an all-day discussion yesterday with a group of people that don't believe we're Russian. They believe we're trying to suppress the vote. And, you know, they found one of Yvette's tweets, and the tweet said that we were voting Dem down ballot. And they was like, that's suppressing the vote. And I'm like, you can't suppress the vote at the polls. Like that's actually the opposite of suppressing the vote. And, you know, it's just having these conversations, and I think it's what she talks about all the time. Like, we have to educate the people because I don't think people have political literacy. Because I asked the original thing that started the whole conversation, you know, I asked, was the black community more important than America? Because we know America can be successful and the black community can suffer. Like, we know that's possible. So if you're voting for Biden because you don't want to see America burn, I totally understand it. And it's like, I'm not against that. But understand, voting for Biden and Harris will not fix issues in the black community. The only way to fix our issues is going to be with transformational policy, and it has to be specific for just us. Nothing else will work. And it's like, I feel like, and that's why, to me, this group is so important, because I know in this particular group of people, I know every time I make a post, it's going to be looked at a certain kind of way. Like, no, beyond the shadow of a doubt. Because I've even had some people come on to one of the happy hours we had. I know an organizer. So I'm originally from Louisiana. So I know an organizer in Louisiana. And I ran into another ADOS brother. He's from Memphis. And, you know, me and him talk. And, you know, they go in and, you know, they're saying, you know, they're talking about the data, talking about our strategies, and like everybody's agreeing with them. And I'm like, that's the same thing I say every week, and nobody listens to it. But I was like, whatever, maybe it's the messenger. That's totally fine with me. I don't really care. You know what I'm saying? As long as we get the message out, I'm not, I don't care about being recognized like that. I just want the information to the people. And so, like, it's just this back and forth. But like I was saying, that's kind of why this space is important. And I was going to ask the group this. I'm not sure in the ways that you all advocate, but if there's any like backup you need, if you're having a back and forth with somebody and need somebody else to chime in, like I'm always available. And I try to do the same. Like I've added a couple people to the channel that have said some things. You know, I think we just have to, like they say, we project takeover. We have to go to these spaces and have these conversations. Because I still, like I told them yesterday, I haven't seen anybody that's as well versed and as deeply steeped in the scholarship and the data. Like I could just roll like a million data points just off the tip of my tongue, just from watching the shows. You know, I generally like if I'm watching them on my phone or something, if I'm watching on TV, I always screenshot the graphs and the charts and all that. Because it's like, you know, I'm gonna need that to prove this point. And so like I just gotten in the habit of it. But people are very, I don't know, I almost feel like here, I was gonna ask you this, I almost feel like it's a Midwest thing. Cause like this one girl I was talking to yesterday, you know, I had asked a question about is the black community more important in America? And then she started asking me a bunch of ADOS stuff. And I was like, well, this has nothing to do with ADOS, but you know, I DM'd her and was like, hey, this is my number, I can explain it to you, but you know, that ain't nothing to do with what I'm talking about. And then like she reposted was like, oh, he tried to DM me and say this, but I told her to answer fully. I'm like, that's gotta be a culture thing. Cause where I'm from, you call people. Like if I want to talk to you directly, I'm gonna just pick up the phone and call you. I'd rather not go back and forth over the internet. But then it's like, no, like you ask and then I tell you. And then like they'll be like, well, what's your strategy? And it's like, okay, well, if we inform the people will push the politicians because that's who elects the politicians. Politicians form their agenda based off the issues that their constituency are bringing to them. That's how laws are written. That's the political process. And she was just like, that's no strategy. No, that is the strategy. Like, that's exactly how it works. Like, but, and that's the thing, and that's what I was saying. I really feel like we have to push political literacy. Because just like when we say politics is an exchange, we vote Democratic at 90%. But what do we ever get for the vote? We never get anything for it, anything substantial. And we won't get anything substantial until they start to specify ADOS as a specific group. And explaining that to people that actually are running for office, it was weird. Because they were always like, well, we're not a big enough population to get a law passed of that magnitude. I'm like, well, that's not true. Because they passed laws for Somalians. There's only like a million Somalians here. And they have, you know, in their sanctuary cities, they get benefits. So how you gonna tell me we can't do it? And so it's just like, it's always a back and forth. And what I hear most of the time is that'll never happen. And that's just not an answer. Like, no, it'll happen because I'm gonna make it happen. Like, ain't no if. Like, no, we don't do this. This is gonna happen. Yes. But I think it's just, like I said, it's a lot of pushback. And I don't mind it. It actually helps me with my debating skills. Because, like, they'll say, oh, well, because I say, generally they call us Trump supporters. And they say, well, you never post negative articles about Trump. I was like, well, I don't have to. Watch TV. Like, he's doing something negative every day. Like, it's kind of hard to miss it. And honestly, if you ask me, I would say about the same for Joe Biden. Like, he can't stop fucking up. Like, just the stuff he says all the time. It's like, this is the guy you're going to vote for. And they was like, you know, it's like, well, our closest way to reparations is through Kamala Harris and Joe Biden. And I was like, you do know Kamala Harris says she's not going to do anything specific for black people. Like, she said that out her mouth. Joe Biden said out his mouth, it is not my responsibility to correct the sins of my forefathers. That's what came out of his mouth. How is that? That can't be the fastest way. They both said they're not rocking with reparations. And then when Joe Biden gives the speech or says the rhetoric about, yeah, they should have reparations, but they should include Native Americans, you can't include If we include Native Americans, we might as well include white people. Because Native Americans enslaved us. We found that to be true. So it's like, man, if he really meant what he's saying, I don't care what he tweets. I don't care what he says in the soundbite. I don't see any policy that says that. And I don't believe he's going to just morally do something because I looked at what he's been doing politically for the past 50 years, right? Crime bills and, super predators. Like, no, this isn't, no, I don't know why you're voting for him. Now, I would go so far as to argue nobody has been more detrimental to the lives of ADOS Americans than Joe Biden in the past few years. Like, I can't think of any one particular person, but, we know mass incarceration is real, and he's the architect. He wrote the crime bills. Like, to me, that was a real, what the fuck are we doing moment. But like I tell people, if that's who you want to vote for, you have your reasons, that's your business. But I hate, and it's getting annoying that they say, like, we're Russian and we don't want people to vote. And I was like, we never said that. Like, who said that? We never said we supported Trump. We never said we supported Republicans. We never said we don't want people to vote. We never said that. And then they show the tweets, and it's like, that tweet requires you to go to the polls. Like, that's not suppressing the vote. Like, so it's just been this big, huge back and forth. Me and this whole group, like I say, they all think it's Russian disinformation. Also, the articles they post are about, like, black identity groups. But like I told them, we've been featured on CNN recently. We've had multiple New York Post articles. We've had multiple Washington Post articles. Like, we're very much a nationally recognized movement. So when a report says a black identity extremist group, you know who we are. You can say ADOS. People know who we are. Like, say our name. Like, no, we're a thing now. Like, you get to say that when you go on CNN, I think.
Yeah. Yeah, well, I think with that, there are several things that we need to remember. And that's, I can't speak for all of the Midwest, but in Kansas City, there is a lot of education that needs to happen as far as the ADOS movement. Because simply put, there's not enough of us advocating for ADOS in Kansas City. Or at least I'm not aware of others who are advocating outside of the people who interact with me on social media and the people who are here right now. So we definitely need more numbers in the city. So keep doing what you're doing. Keep sharing the information in the chats. Keep sharing it with your family and friends. Share it at work if you think you won't get in trouble for it. But we need as many as possible to keep spreading that information. And also, just know, what was I say? Oh, lost my train of thought. But just know that when it actually comes to the ballot, when it comes to voting, ADOS really promotes down ballot voting. Now, the majority of us say down ballot Democratic voting because that's how we voted primarily for decades. That's not to say you can't vote down ballot Republican. But still, the truth has to be realized that neither party, just like Layton said, neither party has an ADOS Black American agenda. So that did anyone watch the DNC or the RNC? Let's talk about that.
I watched a little of RNC. I didn't watch much of the DNC. I tried to, I watched Michelle. I don't think I watched much of Barack at all. It's just, man, it's like you been saying. I was really kind of upset at what Michelle was saying. She was basically like, yo, we got to turn out great numbers. We have to get this guy out the White House. We got to show up like we did in 08 and 16. What was it, 08 and 16? And it's like, not 16, but what was it, 04 and 08? it's just like, we showed up in record numbers because we thought that was going to be good for us.
Yes.
We found out it wasn't. Why are you, and it's the same thing I argue with the people I talk about in this forum. How is it black people's responsibility to get Donald Trump out of the White House? None of us voted for him. How is this more our fault than he's so, if the country goes to hell and Donald Trump wins another election, it's black people's fault, despite black people never voting for a Republican? Like, how is it our fault? He's more my fault than the people that voted for him? And I feel like, you know, like Yvette was saying, it seems like another group. Like, it's like, hey, come out. We got to come out. You got to get this right. No, we got it right the last time. And the time before that. Like, y'all put him in there. That ain't on us. And why is it that, like I tell people this, that I told them this in the chat yesterday, I don't see the point in why you expect us to sacrifice again for America. Like, we've been sacrificing for America the whole time we've been here. And now it should be our time to do something for our community because we are on the bottom. And this wealth transfer is happening immediately. And like I said, I said it in the forum yesterday, and I think it kind of went over everybody's head. Because, you know, one of the girls was like, well, we have parents that are baby boomers. I'm like, yes, we do have parents that are baby boomers. They just don't have any money. And it's kind of due to slavery, which is the whole point. Like, your parents aren't going to pass you down any money. But everybody else's parents are passing them down 68 trillion.
Can I jump in real quick?
Yeah, sure, Brian.
I didn't, Leighton, I'm sorry. Your microphone kind of cut out at the last minute. You were saying there are people who say we have black parents who are what? I didn't hear that part.
Baby boomers.
Oh, yeah, okay.
Oh, yeah. So,
okay.
A lot of, just for context, a lot of the wealth in the black community is with the boomers. You know, they're the ones who were able to come into these government jobs at the right time.
Yeah.
They were the right place. And I'm one of them. My mom retired from Kansas City government. She was in the Department of Human Relations 10 years ago. And that's my legacy. I was able to benefit from her being what was then Black middle class. And many of us have that story too. We're still linked to the benefits that our parents had. However, what's happening now is that it's increasingly, and this year really put that into gear, but that wealth, or I don't even want to say wealth, the money that our parents had isn't trickling down to us in a way that would help us to get upward mobility.
Yeah, so essentially,
so that's why you see a lot of us are at risk of being evicted. A lot of us are losing our jobs. A lot of us are getting are catching the coronavirus, and we're getting sick from it, and we're dying from it because we don't have the benefit of generational wealth. So that's what he means by hook to baby boomers.
Yeah, being boomer, because and like Kiara was saying, you know what Kiara. What Yvette talks about a lot is wealth calcification. Basically meaning in order to be successful in America from a wealth perspective, you have to come from a certain level of wealth. There's no new wealth being created. And the biggest example that I can remember is like if you think about Steve Jobs, if you think about Jeff Bezos, and if you think about Bill Gates, you know, we all think them to be like Tony Starkish, like they came from nothing and, you know, made all of this money. But actually, all three of their parents each gave them upwards of a $400,000 loan to start their business. And it's like, well, damn, y'all was rich already. Like, that's not the same. And similar to like the medical marijuana industry. Like, you know, everybody thinks, oh, that's a brand new industry. We can take part in that new avenue. And then you come to find out that you need to have, I think it's $400,000 worth of working capital in order to, you know, get certain licenses. Like, well, where am I going to get $500,000 from? You know what I mean? Like, you have to be, and those types of stipulations have been there the whole time. And it's like, well, I can't compete because then you cross reference that with the, I think it was like the average rate that's given to black people for SBA by the Small Business Administration. It's like 35,000 for black people as opposed to 100,000 for white people. And they found that the reason black people wind up losing their businesses, their entrepreneurial businesses, is due to lack of capital, not necessarily lack of business capital. So it's just getting that information out there. Like I said, I can run this off the top of the head, like really easy. But
and I think with that, hold on, I'm gonna say a quick two things. The first thing is this meeting was only supposed to be scheduled for an hour. It is now 10 minutes after 10, so I'm probably gonna wrap it up in the next by 10:30 ish. So in case it is only supposed to be an hour, so I'll probably wrap it up. But so there's that. And then the second thing I want to put in is that most of us who have been watching, you mentioned Yvette. It's actually Yvette Carnell. She is the person behind Breaking Brown, and she and Antonio Moore, who's behind Tone Talks, they're both on YouTube, have created years of educational ADOS videos. So some of us who have been watching them for years, we've been following them for years, and we have all the data, but not everybody has that. So I would say with this group, we kind of have to keep in mind that not all of us are as steeped in ADOS education as others. So so I'll kind of put in here. So if you're not already, it's Breaking Brown and Tone Talks. Oh, and Be the Power. Breaking Brown, Tone Talks, Be the Power. And I've also, they're on YouTube. And I've also been introduced to quite a few others who have created really good informational videos about the state of Black America and ADOS issues as well. If I'll try to find links to them as well to add into the chat for next week. But I just want to say that so that's one of the reasons why we're starting off with From Here to Equality for our book club. If you would like to join us, if you haven't started reading it already, it is again From Here to Equality by William Darity and Kirsten Mullen. And they have created decades of reparations advocacy, and they've put it all into this book, which is the blueprint for the case for reparations. It includes everything from slavery to the buildup of structural racism that we're experiencing today. And it all works together to create the platform for why we advocate for reparations. And I believe the last few chapters actually include the specifics of what a reparations agenda would be. So if you're watching this video, please join us in the book club reading. We've already started. That meeting is set for September 26th, same time, 9 a.m. And we'll be reading all through this month From Here to Equality. If you start now, you can read a few chapters a week, and you'll be able to join in with us for that book club discussion. So this is just where we need to start. It's a really great introduction into ADOS and the reparations and what it's about and why we're doing what we're doing. So if you find yourself saying, where do you get that data from, or where do you get that information from, or how do I learn that? This is how. The people that I mentioned earlier on YouTube, and we're starting with the book From Here to Equality. So right now we're just building up the data. We're gathering the information, and we're going to use it. These are the points that we're going to bring to our family and friends. This is the information that we're going to share on our social media pages. So just that quick little bit. And so, what else? We've talked about evictions and, the national conventions. Um, has anyone, read anything else interesting this week, or seen anything, watched anything TV? What's the 411?
Well, I know there was which I know most of y'all are probably from here. I'm originally from Louisiana, and I don't know if y'all have heard about Hurricane Laura, but it kind of fucked up a lot of stuff back home. So I just think about hurricanes, going through Louisiana in the midst of a pandemic. Like, the CARES Act is up now, so now people aren't receiving this $600 stipend that they had been receiving. And a lot of the emergency legislation that they've written to kind of cover us with the foreclosures and evictions, a lot of that stuff isn't enacting anymore. So I was actually thinking about, man, like how many people lost their homes that don't have any.
Hold on, Layton, I don't mean to interrupt, but your microphone, like I'm having a really hard time hearing you. If you could turn your volume up a little bit so we could hear you better.
All right, I might have to speak louder.
Perfect.
Okay. Yeah, my volume is always weird on this computer. It's on my work computer. But no, it was a hurricane that went through Louisiana, and I was thinking about the CARES Act. So the CARES Act was giving people, I think, like $600 per. I don't know if it was weekly or if it was bi-weekly, but it was putting a lot of money in poor people's pockets, specifically ADOS people. And now that the CARES Act is up, I don't know about unemployment, how that's looking, but everybody's unemployed at this point. And so it's like, okay, what happens to ADOS people going forward? Because if with those pieces of legislations being lifted, people being able to get their homes foreclosed on, and people being able to get evicted because the legislation is timed up, what happens? Because we can't go to work. Most of us work service jobs, and most of us work jobs that aren't essential. Because I think eventually I think it's only like 15% of all American jobs can work from home. And then, if you're not an essential employee, you really can't find work. So it's like, what happens? Because we don't have any money. We're basically just going to be homeless. And I don't think people are noticing yet. I don't think it's becoming a big thing, but I foresee it becoming a big thing here in the next 2 months for sure.
Yeah, let me kind of jump in real quick. And
Sure.
I think that I totally agree with that. That goes back to the point I made about the tiny homes video. Like the lack of urgency at every level is just astounding. Like I don't honestly think that we're going to get to the election without some serious social unrest related to homelessness, related to poverty, related to an economic system that is just completely exploitative and oppressive. So urgency, there's no urgency around any of it. I mean, you see it when the Senate adjourns for recess without extending the CARES Act or a CARES Act 2.0. And I mean, it's just, yeah. So I agree 100%.
And Brian, if I'll piggyback off of that, I think with Hurricane Laura, I haven't, maybe it's because I haven't been like intentionally looking for it, but I haven't noticed a lot of coverage about the devastation from that storm. But I know it's there because I've seen a couple of videos of, they're talking about they still don't have electricity. There's still, I think there's still 14 feet of standing water that some people are having to deal with. So when you think of that and you think of people's homes that have been flooded out, you think of all the people that had to evacuate this week and are still not back home, and how in the middle of a pandemic, situations where people are at an increased risk of COVID, like Brian said, we are not going to make it to this election without it getting worse, much worse. Like I don't even know, or I can't, I just, like, I'm having a hard time, like, especially this week, because like so much has happened this week alone. Like I'm having a hard time wrapping my mind around just how bad 2020 has been. Like this has got to be a record for the worst year ever, as far as, you know. And for I speak for ADOS first, so I say for us predominantly, but for everybody, like this, I just I'm a little bit on edge as to what's going to happen next this year, because you know something's coming. This week, last week, with the shooting of Jacob Blake, and people are protesting about that, and then on top of that, the Hurricane Laura, and people being evicted from their homes here in town, and it's just a lot. And I think we need to really focus on the fact that we have to hold our elected officials accountable. You know, we have to keep, writing them, tweeting them, DMing them, like saying, like, this is what's going on. This is what's real. I think Mayor Lucas, he posted something about how happy he was that he got positive reviews on how residents think we've handled COVID. I don't know who he surveyed. I didn't get a survey, but posts like that where he's blatantly ignoring the devastation, the dire state that a lot of his constituents are in, is glaring. So I definitely think we have to hold these people accountable. We can't just say, oh, we're, vote blue no matter what. We got to get Trump out. We just have to. No, these people need to be held accountable to what they're supposed to be doing, and that is they're supposed to be a support system to the American citizens. Here in town, the government is supposed to be a support to its to the people who live here. So they shouldn't be able to just say, oh, whoever they survey, look how well we're doing. We're not doing well. If all of us aren't doing well, none of us are doing well, because the trickle down is going to happen. A lot of I don't want to get on a tangent. I'll keep this quick. A lot of the plight of ADOS is because we are, like I said before, a bottom caste. The country has been built, is continuing to be built up at our expense. And what that looks like is that we now live in a country where people like Jeff Bezos can become multi-billionaires while his employees barely get minimum wage. And I think we need to keep pointing that out to our government, and saying this can't go on.
Can I jump in and say, I think you're absolutely right. Your comment about Mayor Lucas, and related to what we were just saying about lack of urgency, particularly from our elected representatives, and not getting to, the general election in November without, more unrest. You're already seeing it with Rand Paul getting mobbed in the street like 2 nights ago. you know,
I saw
by
that.
protesters. And then Georgia state congressman in Atlanta, you know, a black man and his wife, like being accosted in the street. You know, I mean, that's the kind of stuff that happens when you don't respond to the people, you know, when you don't take your job as a politician when you're basically not an agent for the people, you're not a trustee for the people, you're not a public servant, you know. I think you saw it in the Congress or the council member in the video about the tiny houses in LA. Like, and the tone deafness is just breathtaking, and people aren't going to take it. If they're already out in the street, if they have nothing left to lose, they're going to tell you about it. You know, and I think we're going to see a lot more of that.
And I do feel like I know from my perspective, because
Leighton, hold on, I was gonna say we have about five minutes left, and then we're gonna end just so we won't run over too long. And right now we've been communicating through Twitter, which is fine, I guess. But hope at some point I'd like for us to be able to communicate through email. So if each of you could add your email, your name and your email to the chat, and that way I'll be able to kind of send out future notices that way, just in case something happens to my Twitter account and Twitter decides that, you know, I've said one too many funny things to the wrong person and they cancel my account, which I've already been blocked and suspended once already. So that's, you know, that might be possible. So just please add your name and your email to the chat, and we can, and I'll post future Zoom links that way. Okay, so yeah. Okay, so go ahead, Leighton.
No, I was just saying, a lot of people consider me to be radical. You know, I hear that a lot, but I think I look at history, because I'm kind of big on history and seeing how things have worked in the past and how they changed. And like when I think about, you know, Malcolm and Martin, like the more I read about them, the more I found out not a lot of people like Malcolm and Martin when they were alive. Like now we look at Malcolm and Martin, it's like, oh, those guys are amazing. Yeah. But when they were living, most people hated Malcolm and Martin because they were stirring up a bunch of controversy. So I always try to keep that in mind when I'm having conversations and people are, you know, coming at my head and, oh, you're Russian and that'll never work and that don't make sense and you're a Trump supporter. It's like, yeah, I'm pretty sure they had the same thing said about Malcolm and Martin when they were alive. Mm-hmm. So it kind of makes me feel like I'm in good company. But we have to lead with the information. And, you know, I just want all you guys to know, and this is just my perspective personally, you know, what has happened to ADOS people over the past 400 years has been very radical. So the only way to fix something that radically happened to you is to radically change it. Because piecemealing it and doing piece by piece, that isn't gonna give us the change necessary for us to maintain or to even get what we work for. And you know, I tell people all the time, reparations is not a handout. We work for this. You know, what happened to us was constitutionally wrong, and I can prove it. And so it's like, you know, I just want what I'm doing. I want my family to be okay, and we deserve to be okay because we built the country. Period. There's no ifs, ands, or buts about that.
All right, thank you guys. Does anyone else have anything they want to add before we close out?
Thanks for doing this. This is great.
Yeah, hopefully every Saturday morning at 9, right, Kiara?
Yes. Oh, that reminds. So yes. Okay, so for next week, what we didn't get into it today, but that's fine. What I'd like for us to focus on is our ADOS story. You're I'm sorry. I was like, oh, your son is so cute. But so next week, let's focus on our ADOS story. I think when it comes to the movement, a lot of us are noticing so much pushback because what ADOS does is it rips the veil off of our lives. You know, a lot of us are, you know, we've been, you know, shiny Black people. You know, we got that good job, we got that good house, we got that good car. You know, we're vacationing and eating good. And what ADOS is saying is like, hey, we are a bottom caste. Most don't want that label. They don't want that stigma. So they are naturally going to fight against it. But if we are honest, if we learn how to be honest, a lot of us should be able to reveal elements of our lives that are connected to other ADOS as well, as far as, you know, job situations, housing situations, and the like. So next week, I'll go first. I'll be sharing my ADOS testimony, and I really hope that'll kind of open the door for us to share our stories as well. So be thinking about that next week, and I am gonna close out. Thank you all for coming in and joining us, and we will be back here at 9 a.m. next Saturday. All right, see you all next week.
Thanks.
All right, guys.
Bye.
Bye.